Hey guys, it's Paul. Hey, I'm check it out, man. I'm wearing a suit today. This is what I wear when I'm heading out to work, and I'm in a hurry. But actually, the interesting thing is, I got thinking about this, and I just had to get it. I had to get my thoughts documented somehow because something happened. I had a guitar lesson last night with one of my students that I haven't seen in probably about 8 months. Okay, they called me up. He says, I got some issues. I need to come over and see if we can get them worked out. So I said, okay. So he comes over last night, and he's probably about 16. Okay, started with me real young, dropped off for close to a year, if not a year, and now he comes back and he says, I've been watching these guys play. And they're so smooth. They've got so much fluidity, and they have all of this stuff. They play different. And I said, you know what, man? It's because we need to work on your technique. You've focused so much on learning songs and tricks and all this kind of stuff that, the technique is not where it needs to be. Basically, if you don't have the foundation of technique, everything else is going to sound like crap. Or it won't sound the way you want it to sound. It'll be, you won't have a good foundation, a good place to build all the rest of that stuff on. Got me thinking about this, the harmonica, and something that I've been doing for quite a while. And this is going to sound very basic, and theoretically it is, but I can promise you this: if you haven't been doing this, it's going to challenge you. Okay, so are you ready? It's this. All right, I just went up on the C major scale. This is a C major diatonic crossover. All right, very, very slow, very, very deliberate. And when I started doing that, I started recording myself and then listening back. And it really, especially on the way back down. So you've already gone up, and now you're gonna play that back down. It really pushes your breathing, and if you are breathing from up here, believe me, you're gonna feel it. You're not going to be able to get through that whole thing the way you'd like. If you're breathing from your diaphragm and your posture is good, you got a better chance. So those are two things that you really need to pay attention to, and the time on the notes, the long, making sure that the notes are consistent, the duration of the notes is consistent, the volume of the notes is consistent. These are all the things that we're working on. It's a major scale, and we can play it like that all day long. That's great. We all know what that is. But using the major scales or the scales to build your technique and build your breathing and your ability, that's what we're talking about. Okay, so that's in the middle octave. Okay, so once you get it down in the middle octave, then you could challenge yourself even more. You go down to the bottom octave where you've got a couple of bends, the 3 and the 4, and now doing that, you're going to have to hold those bends. They're going to have to be in tune. They're going to have to, sound decent. This is going to push you. Oh, and here's another thing. What I always do, and I've heard other harp players talk about this, get all the air out of your lungs before you start. All right? And you can take just a little bit of breath back into your lung before you start on a blow note, just to get that blow note going. And what it does is it seems to refresh. Okay, it's kind of like pick theory. When you're playing guitar, you play a bend and hold the bend. Your next note, it should be a down pick. Or if you play a half note on a half note on the guitar, your next note should be down pick because you're going to start a new alternate picking pattern, right? Up and down. Same kind of deal. You're kind of rebooting yourself with your breath. Okay, that's how we operate, is with our breath. So things happen there. There was a clam, and at the end you could see where it was forcing my breathing. That tells me I need to spend a little bit more time on that, okay? All right, so it's going to force those bends, force you to go back and forth with those bends, and be able to hold them longer, keep them in tune, listen to the pitch, make sure that you're keeping them in tune. And also, there was another point I wanted to make, I'll come back to it. But a lot of the time when I work on, unfortunately, when I work on that half of the harp, I'm practicing fast, you know, that kind of crap. And it's that, you know, that sounds like shit, right? Right now anyway, and I have to go through that at least a dozen times before it sounds good. The only way I'm going to build that speed is to play it slow and deliberate with a metronome and build up to that. The other thing too is articulation. Articulation of the notes. That was all slur, all right? All right, so you get the articulation. All right, so what I'm doing is a little tit, 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 you know, on the top of my tongue. My tongue is hitting the roof of my mouth a little bit to make that articulation. So you could practice it both ways. You could practice the slur. Or articulate. Okay, so it's probably good to do both. In fact, it is good to do both, all the way up and all the way down, both on all of this. You could practice it. Both of those things are very, very useful, and you need those techniques. Okay, so after you get down below and you get all of that done, now it's time to work all the way up the harp. Okay, and on this, the top of the harp is laid out a little bit differently, so it's a lot more blow, draw, blow, draw, blow, draw, and then 10 half-step bend, blow, and then you got your 10, okay? All right? Alright, so not perfect. You could hear where my armature was moving a little bit too fast for the airstream in the very top. If you listen close, you'll hear that. I could hear it. So this is the whole point of doing this, is to pick yourself apart and say, you know what, today I'm going to be brutally honest with myself about my technique and how I sound when I'm playing these notes this way. Also, I'm going to work on my breathing, and I'm going to work on getting around a little bit better, and also I'm going to work on all three sections of the harp, the middle, bottom, and then the top. Doing this has helped me huge, man. You know, playing very, very slow and very deliberate, practicing on my breathing, and you know, the slower that you go with this, the harder it is. And it forces the issue. It forces you to listen. It forces you to be honest with yourself about the technique. Man, I heard clams all over the place in there. It's not perfect. If you're not perfect, don't beat yourself up. Okay? No one's perfect. We all do stuff that sounds not so good, you know, at times. And you know, I just put another video out last night that, quite frankly, I listened back to some of that stuff and I'm like, oh my God, does that sound like crap? But you know what? I've never played to that song before. Just once in the jam the other night, last night, I took some time and, you know, listened to it and, you know, threw out some ideas. Don't be hard on yourself. Have fun with it. I hope this technique helps. Take your time. right. This is going to help you also with things like this. You see what I mean? I got some work to do. So that whole thing is breathe, breathe, breathe. That's that buddy guy at Carnegie Hall thing. It's gonna force. Now, if you listen to him play that, it's seamless. And his notes, he has time. He has beautiful timing on his notes. He's not rushing. Any of that garbage. It's time with the notes. The exercise that I just went over is going to help you do that. Okay, guys, I got to run. It's great. Thank you so much for all the great comments and all the stuff, the great feedback. I hope this really helped. I hope I'm helping by doing all this. I just love the harmonica, and I think it's a wonderful instrument. It's joyous, and I really want everybody to enjoy it too. So take care, guys, and God bless. Bye-bye.